the weather is unbelievable. Like I said, it's supposed to get a bunch of snow this week in this part of the state, and the temperatures last week, I was thinking it was, pretty much spring, and it's the same thing there. I've talked to other people in Minnesota, but you're saying it was almost 70 degrees yesterday, and then you're supposed to snow today.
Correct. Yesterday we were training dogs in t-shirts. Now today we got long johns on and everything. It's
It's
insane.
nuts.
It's crazy out, and our lakes are half open. My pond is completely open. The dogs went swimming yesterday. My
What
first,
how many dogs do you have in right now?
who we have 43 in right now.
43, huh? Is
Yep.
that quite a few for this time of year, this late in the winter?
Yeah, this is our boarding season, so pretty much from February till April, it's every day boarding dogs coming and going. A lot of boarding. We probably have 15 boarding dogs here right now.
Oh yeah.
hmm Yeah, we got 20. I don't know all the dogs numbered, but I know we got 29, no, 31 training dogs in, and then the rest are boarding.
31 training dogs. How's Slash doing?
Good, good. Yeah, he was out there swimming yesterday, and though I'm like, you guys are nuts. That's got to be cold, but they're out there playing, splashing around, having some fun.
Loving it, huh?
Oh yeah, he was loving it. All
Hey,
of them.
I was thinking about this the other night on I visited several lodges, every year I visit several lodges, duck camps, see a lot of dogs. One of the questions I had was sleeping, nighttime sleeping and rest period for a dog. Um, I know you have house dogs. We
hmm
do. But a lot of places I go, like it's, at your kennel, you'll also have kennels and they'll have a doghouse in there, the bed, they'll sleep in that. They'll have a water bowl in there. What are your thoughts on, the kennels that we transport our dogs in the back of our trucks, these molded kennels? There's several of them made out there by several different manufacturers. A lot of these lodges, the dogs sleep in there overnight. I mean, obviously they're aired out on time and they're fed and they're watered, but they're staying in that kennel overnight for 6 8 hours. Is that okay with you for a dog to lay down in that crate for that long of a time and sleep in that type of a kennel?
Oh, 100%. And because you have to think about when you're putting that dog in the crate, you're forcing it to sleep. Where if it's roaming around the house or the lodge, then you got your lodge guests in there, they're trying to play with the dogs, they're throwing a tennis ball up and down the living room or whatever, you know what I mean? Where that dog's not fully getting rested. Where when you put them in a crate, they're forced to sleep. They can't retrieve in there, they can't run around, they can't jump running up and down the stairs. You know what I mean? So they're forced to sleep. Now, when my dogs are in the house, but like during hunting season when we're traveling, they all sleep in the crates. Just so you know, they're fully rested because they always say every mile we walk, they run five. So that's a lot of exercise or swimming or anything. Swimming, they're using every ounce of their body, every bone, every muscle, trying to retrieve that duck. So sleeping in a crate or we put cots in there, so it's nice and comfy in there, but they're kind of forced to sleep.
What is it? What do you mean by a cot? A pad?
Yeah, yep, just like a 1 inch thick little pads that they make for crates nowadays.
You call that a cot in
I,
Minnesota, huh?
yeah, I
Oh,
don't know. I
really?
call it a cot.
A
Yep.
cot is something that has, a frame to it and that it's above the ground, not on the ground, and you put a
Right.
sleeping bag on it and sleep under the stars, right?
Exactly. I guess. Yeah, they make a little cot for them too. They make a little rise one that sits in there too that you could get, but we just get the memory foam little pet beds that you put in there and they're good to go. Even like Slash 9 times out of 10 at like 9:30 at night, it's like clockwork. But 9:30 at night, his kennel, we have crates in the house, and his crate door is wide open. And he'll like 9:30, he'll just walk right in there with the door wide open, and that's just where he wants to be. And
Instead of
then
instead of sleeping on a couch or anywhere else in the
yeah,
house.
but then about 11:30 midnight, then he moseys his way up into the bedroom and sleeps at the end of the bed.
He does.
Yep.
How many
He's
more dogs are on that bed?
Oh, there's Kai and we got Jagger and Dubs. So kind of Slash sleeps in the bed till we fall asleep. And then as soon as we fall asleep, around 11:30, 12 o'clock, he'll come down and sleep on the couch or in his crate. Jagger, Jagger will sleep on the bed and then he jumps on the floor once he gets hot. Kai will sleep in the bed all night long. So it's kind of whatever they want to do.
So the mindset of a dog owner, a hunter, a dog handler, it's okay. That those crates are not very big. Some labs can stretch out somewhat in them. Some labs can not stretch out all the way, but they can curl up like you're saying. But the number one thing is safety. You know where they're at. You know that they're sleeping in that kennel. Um, it's a mindset though that I think that people have to get over, that it is not damaging to the dog. It is not abusive to the dog at all to have them sleeping in that type of a scenario. Correct?
Correct. So we tell all of our customers, so we sell a lot of puppies a year. And we tell every single solitary person, people might argue against me, but I'm a firm believer from when that dog is, 8 weeks old till at least 6, 7 months old, right in there, 70% of that day they should be spent in a crate. Now the reason is because you wanna let them know that that's a safe and a comfortable environment. You want to let them know that, if you don't put them in a crate, you can actually create anxiety. So meaning that you see those people trying to shove their dog in a crate when it's needed, but if you never put your dog in the crate, that's why they're creating that anxiety where I've seen dogs like literally like scoot a kennel, like those wired kennels across the floor and chewed off the bottom of the staircase, like the carpet. You know what I mean? They're just panicking there and they're trying to destroy that kennel. Well, that just tells me that that dog hasn't spent much time in the kennel. So now you're putting into a kennel. Now it's a negative thing instead of a positive thing. Where like Slash or Jagger, they're born and raised in a kennel. So now, or crate, now every night, like I said, at that 9:30, they just mosey over in there and they just curl up in a ball. The doors are wide open. We're not even asking them to go in there, but he knows that, hey, when I'm in here, nobody's going to bother me. I can get my rest. I can get my sleep. And it's a comfortable place to them. Or like even raising a puppy, we feed our puppies in there. To this day, even with our personal dog, just the system we have, because we have so many of them, I still feed Slash and Jagger and Dubs. They all get fed in their crate to this day. You know what I mean? You don't have to do that at this age anymore, but I really like we just feed them in the crate and everything as well too. You want to make that crate a positive thing because now you're driving. So like me to go down to Kansas, that's almost 9 hours where I will not let my dog just roam around the truck because of safety. You never know when you're going to get an accident where we buy 5-star crash proof rated kennels. So that way, when we're traveling down the road, I want them to be in the safest spot as possible. And they're not roaming around the truck, jumping around the truck, moving from front seat to back seat. They're in their crate where they need to be for that long period of time. Now, if you never put them in a crate and you're driving that 9 hours, they're going to be barking the whole time. They're going to be trying to get out. Now that dog's going to be wore out by the time where you get to Kansas, where I get to Kansas and you let the dogs out and they're 100 miles an hour, fully rested, ready to go. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, 100%. That rest period, and it almost gives them that like anticipation that I know it's go time when that kennel door opens. It's almost like a timing mechanism of once they go into that kennel at night and then they hear you, open the door, turn on the light, might hear the coffee pot. Dogs start to, they get keen to that type of thing. It doesn't take much to wake a dog up, right? So they know when it's go time, and it almost gives them kind of like that extra push of like, oh, it's time to get out of my crate. It's time to get out of my kennel kind of deal.
Right.
And where you could get that same response if he's laying or she's laying at the end of your bed. But that's kind of like you're moseying out of your bed and you're shifting the covers and the dog's kind of waking up, and just filling you out. Where that crate training, I love it. I love that anticipation of when that door is opened. What do you say to get the dog to go in to a crate besides using the word kennel? I don't want to call it a kennel right now. I'm just calling it a crate for training terms. Do you use place or do you use kennel? And is there a difference between the two commands, place and kennel?
So what we do is like jumping in the back of the truck. We just say kennel up or kennel. So how we train dogs is we train it where kennel means going into something. So like their crate, their mud hut, into an enclosure, or like the chain link kennels that we have in the kennel, that's going into something, that's going to be kennel. We use place for going onto something. So like a dog stand or a pet bed or a carpet square or a rug, something that's a defined area, but out in the open in a sense, that's going to be your place command is how we train.
So what explain the place command now in detail though of when place is used And can it be overused, in your opinion, of if you do have a crate in your house and you're telling the dog place and he's accustomed to that, then you're out in the field and he comes back with a duck and you take the duck from his hand and then you say place. Is this get confusing, or will that dog automatically know that place means to go into that hut? Because a place, a lot of times, like you just explained, Andrew, in the hunting situation, might not be a overall enclosure. It might be on a dog stand. It might be in the wide open, right? So, can you overuse the word place and confuse a dog? And should you use kennel when you are telling them to go into an enclosed crate for sleeping or for feeding? But then when you have an enclosed deal in the hunting scenario, can it become confusing, like my question's becoming confusing if you say kennel, if you say kennel out in the field? Because
Right.
now if it's an enclosed dog blind and you say place and he goes into it in the hunt, but then at night it's an enclosed kennel or crate and you're saying kennel because it's enclosed, can that become confusing to that dog?
I mean, it definitely can. That's why we try to, get these dogs where, so like, you got to remember too, like, you got to talk about young dogs and old dogs. Where Kai or Slash, I could say kennel, place, anything in a hunting scenario within 30 seconds, they're going to be like, okay, this is where you want me to sit. This is where I'll go. With that young dog, I want to make it simpler for them where I'm going to have, make sure like this is going to be your place, but it's going to be an open stand, or we're going to be in a mud hut. I'm going to use that word kennel. But like overusing it, I'm a firm believer. Like every night when we're watching TV, my dogs are, Slash, Dub, Jag, or Kai, they're all on their pet bed because when you're on your place, you're training that dog and you don't even realize it because you're training it, steadiness, you're training it to be patient, you're training it to just hang out in one spot. So we're constantly using that word place in our, just a normal day activity. But bouncing back and forth from field to house, I believe that after, a few hunts, that dog's going to figure out, okay, out here in the field, it's place or kennel, wherever dad tells me to kind of go. We're in the house. They're just going to know that rhythm because they do it every single solitary day. But yes, between an older dog like Slash, you could say place kennel with a half open little, you just matted down some cattails with it, maybe a little bit covering his back. But I would just probably use place in that scenario. Where like kennel, I want like kennel to me is like completely shadowed in like a mud hut or a crate on that kind of scenario. If it's kind of wide open or more flat, then I would be using place in a hunting scenario.
Okay, see, that's makes total sense because I said place the other day. I want to make sure I'm not lying to you of where I was. I was in a duck hunting scenario and I said place to get into the kennel. My
Mm,
partner said, "Why are you saying place?" And I said, "Oh, that's what I always say." And I was wrong because now I'm thinking about it. I should be using kennel in
into,
that
yep,
into that crate when he's getting into the back of the truck. That's kennel.
correct.
If he's getting into a concealed dog blind in a dry cornfield that's stubbled up and it's still got the overlaying effect of, an enclosure, that's place. But that, because you don't use kennel in the field, do you?
I do.
Okay, so you do. Okay.
It
Okay.
all depends on, it all depends on what your dog was trained for. So like Slash, like when you're hunting a dry cornfield and he's in a mud hut, that's going to be kennel because it's in an enclosure. It's just like a crate, just you're just missing the gate on the front. Where if we are using like the banded slough stands, where they're just a stand that you stick in the muck and it's just a square top on it and they sit on top of it, that would be place.
Yep. I'm gonna run a test today and the rest of this week and see if I have screwed some of my dogs up.
But Duff, he should do that because that's how we work him here. So he should be all right.
Duff had a great season, man.
I heard you tell me that in Canada he was a rock star.
Picked up almost 1,000 birds in Canada.
He's he's a machine when you get into the bird working. He is. I mean, plus the geese. I mean, with his body size and everything, he has all the strength in the world to retrieve them. he's insane. I've told you this 100 times, but we always upland hunt him a little bit just to make sure that nose is working. I want to make sure his, using his nose to help find the birds as well too. And he's just a machine. When you're pheasant hunting, he is a machine out there. It's fun to watch.
Um, Staying on the subject of Duff, our yellow lab, we also own, my brother has his twin brother, Waylon. Do you find yourself in the predicament as you're a trainer and a hunter? Are you a hunter first and then a trainer? I know your livelihood's in training, but are you a hunter first and then a dog trainer? Do you train to hunt? Do you love hunting way more than you love training? Or are you a dog trainer, dog lover first and foremost, and then the ducks come second? Or are pheasants on that list too? Do they mean as much to you hunting wise as a mallard duck does or a Canada goose?
No, mallard duck means way more to me than a pheasant. So I guided pheasant hunting for like 12 years. So that's kind of I've seen it kind of done it where that mallard duck for some reason that never gets old. Pheasant hunting, it's kind of the same thing repeatedly. And you just run the dog and they use their nose, flush it, follow it, shoot it, and then they're done. With a duck, you got to call it from point A to point B, get it to make sure your spread is right. There's a lot more into it, which makes it way more of a challenge, which makes it way more fun. But to answer your question, that's a very tricky question because I love dog training. I love my dogs, but I also am obsessed with duck hunting. So I would say both. I like to train the dogs in the off season for that duck hunt for when comes fall. I don't know
Okay,
if
let
that's
me
a,
ask you this then. Staying on that same theme is why I said I wanted to stay on Duff is Duff's underrated as a mofo when it comes to overall just pure talent in the field. He
right.
gets a bad rap sometimes by me because he doesn't have the exact same disposition as Axel does, okay? He is a tank. He will take your knees out if you're not careful.
His tail.
He will flap his tail against the wall until you wake up in the middle of the night. He's just ADD to the max for a lap. Where Axel will literally just lay there like he's never been on a hunt in his life, and then as soon as it's go time, he's a world class, like literally a world class hunter. The reason I say Duff is underrated as a overall hunting dog is because he is unbelievable in the field. He's an awesome dog all the way around. I'm just asking you where I'm going with this, Andrew, from Wild Acre Kennels, Minnesota, is do you find yourself picking favorites? And do you start to form biases with your dogs to where it affects the way you treat the other dog, not in a mean way, but not as loving, not as nurturing, not as attention giving as you probably are with your A-list celebrity dogs, for lack of better terms. To me, Axel is the cream of the crop when it comes to dogs, and he's mine. I love Duff too. When Axel's not around and me and Duff are there, he's my boy. But then I tend to see and notice that when both of them are around, I kind of am biased towards Axel. Is that natural, or is that me being a you-know-what a-hole?
No, people argue against this, but I'm the same way. Like we have Slash and Dubs. Those are my boys. Those are my kind of my everything, that I go hunting with. When I go hunting, I always try to take turns or pick the best dog for the scenario that they do the best in when we're out hunting. Where I got kind of those two dogs are kind of I always say my pride and joy. I love all my dogs, but then we got Kai. Kai is a rock star, an all-star. She is, well, you've seen her. She's on the Fall Life TV, but um, ever since Raylan got involved in my life, Kai doesn't want anything to do with me. She is glued to Raylan's hip. Anywhere Raylan goes, Kai goes. I mean, Raylan can't even go to the bathroom without Kai, being right there with her. So I love her to death. I'll do whatever it takes to keep them all happy, healthy, and safe and hunt with them. But like if I had a choice to go out hunting tomorrow and they said, all the dogs had even amount hunted this year, I would take Slash and Dubs. I like hunting two dogs at once always. I bring two dogs.
You would take Slash and Dubs
Yep,
and not
absolutely.
Kai.
Nope. If I just had that choice where it was everybody's hunted equally this year, we have one last hunt to go on, and it's kind of the last hunt of the year. I just want to take my boys out because they listen, they're robots, they're pretty much good in every condition we hunt in, and they're just the ones that I would load up in the truck.
Okay, then let me ask you this. What about when you get back to the lodge or camp that night? Do you show Kai the same amount of affection as the other dogs? And I'm saying on an equal basis. Now, you might go back to the camp that night and show Kai even more because you feel guilty that you left her behind and you were thinking about her all day because she's itching and knowing exactly what you're out doing with Dubs and Slash. So, but let's say they all went hunting. Do you in that scenario of the love giving and the nurturing part of it at nighttime, you and Ray Lynn are laying there, are you equal in that giving as well?
Oh yeah, yeah. They're all pretty much when we're hanging out at our house, we actually treat them all equally in that scenario. Where Kai's hanging out with Raylan on the couch, and Slash is actually by Raylan on the couch, and then Dubs and Jagger. Jagger's kind of a leave me alone kind of dog. He's a one. He just likes to be by himself. But then Dubs is usually curled up in the chair next to me.
Um,
So
okay,
we
so
do.
I'm not gonna.
It's just weird. I know what you're trying to ask, but like in our household, that's just weird because like we treat all of our dogs equally, for in the household. We give them all the same amount of attention. Kai probably gets a little bit more because Raylan has more time with her. But like out hunting, it would be I like my boys.
Yeah, I find myself leaning towards other dogs, and it's just natural. It's not that Duff ever did anything bad. He's just a different personality. It's like being a teacher, man. You're going to have favorites. You're going to have kids that absolutely wear you out, but you still have to nurture them. You still have to teach them. You still have to lead them. You still have to mentor them into the future. And these dogs, you get so close to them. Like, here's a superficial reason why Duff doesn't lay in my bed as much as Axel does. I grew up with asthma and I really didn't have a lot of house dogs. Duff sheds bad compared to Axel.
He does.
He does, right?
Same.
We've tried everything to get it under control. It's better right now. I think it's a seasonal deal, maybe. But I've always got kind of not upset, but frustrated that dog hair is hard to clean up, right? When it gets all over your comforter and your sheets and your pillowcases and your your truck bed, or not your truck bed, but your back seat if they're curled up there in the heater, which again, you got to talk to people about. Is that a safe thing to do? We're going to go there next. But you know what I mean? It's like, maybe it's easier just to have one dang dog, Andrew, and not have two at the same time.
Sometimes it is. But like I was just thinking about this. So Duff, he's 100% you, constantly on the go, never sleeps, go, 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 go. He's
Oh,
a
you saying,
the
are you
minute he's a
saying
mini he's a ADD. He's like you. He's out constantly on the go, constantly doing something, always working. And that's Duff.
he is, man? He has that personality to where if I was, if I had to go to a fight, right? I asked my MMA guys this, who would you bring? I would bring Duff because Duff will run through a wall for you.
Oh yeah.
Duff ain't messing around. And at the same time, I want to reiterate this. This dog has a special, special talent in the field of marking birds, like you said, using his nose. He's fast runner, even though he's a little bit bigger of a dog. He's a fast go-getter. He will dirt roll a crippled Canada if one gets caught in the crossfire and
That's
one's
what I
walking
love about
around.
him.
He will dirt roll a Canada goose, no problem, and get him back to the blind quick. The other thing I love about Duff, and I want to talk to you about this, is that I've never been a fan of Axel's grip. So let's talk about grip real quick. Is it an instinctual thing? Is it just a genetic thing of how dogs learn to pick up animals? You see it before where they'll grab it like where the neck meets the breast and the feet will be hanging straight down and the head will be in the mouth. They'll grab it they'll go up to a big cannon and they can't get around its around its breast. So they'll find a way. As long as the bird gets back in the blind, the hunter and the handler should be happy. But
100%.
again, me being a prima donna hunter, according to the internet, I get frustrated on Axel's grip because Duff will go out there and grab a Canada by the breast. Okay, his mouth might be a little bit bigger, but he'll just manhandle it and carry it back the right way. Axel will grab it by the joint on a leg and drag it back by one of its legs. Again, I still have the goose in hand, bird in hand, and we're ready for the next flock to start coming off the roost and work us. But do you know what I mean? It's like, I want that dog. I want that grip to be perfect. Do you see that in some dogs where they just can't get the grip right?
Oh yeah, 100%. So kind of the easiest way to explain that is it goes all the way back to like when they're puppies and we're gun breaking them. You know, we'll get some dogs that come in. I mean, and this was Duff. Duff, it was a mouthy dog. Does that make sense? Where he was like chomping on the bird. He really needed to be force fetched. We call that a hard mouth dog. Well, then you have a soft mouth dog where they didn't eat the bird. They're very light, soft touch on that bird, which could steer them to grab on the other side of that bird. Now, I don't know how Axel was. I didn't train him, but I know Duff, he was super, super mouthy. You know, when he brings back a bird, there might be a tooth hole or two in it because he just gets it, picks it up, brings it back, where some of these soft mouth dogs, you know, are that they're going to pick it up. And or, you know, like I said, I don't know all of Axel, but, you know, we've seen it before where, you know, some dogs might have got whipped by a goose, you know what I mean? Or got spurred by a pheasant or something where they lost a little bit of confidence on picking that bird up around the base because it got whacked or spurred or something. But most of the case, to me, it's just a softer mouth dog, and that's just how that dog was born and raised. It's not really a pedigree thing. You know, obviously, if it's generationally passed down, you know, if the mom was soft mouth, the dad was soft mouth, the aunt, grandpa, everything was soft mouth, well, then yeah, that could be a genetically passed thing. But some dogs are mouthy, and some dogs just have a softer touch mouth from the get-go.
Mouthy is 100% right when it comes to describing Duff in a couple of instances. One, like I just described on the hunt, he is there and back with a full mouth of bird. Okay, you couldn't fit another centimeter of bird in this dog's mouth. Second, he's the one that is going to have the tooth marks in it. A little bit of teared skin maybe. Third, he's the one that if you let him sneak off with one, he's going to get into that, which Axel won't do that. I've seen other dogs do that. That irritates the heck out of me. That's not good. But how can you stop them if you really think about what they're always hungry. A lab's always hungry. They get that blood on them.
A lot of it,
and then, hold on. And then the fourth part is hunt, picture set up, memories made, high fives. Look around. Here's Duff running around with a goose in his mouth or a mallard. And I mean the entire time you're picking up the spread, blinds, everything, but until you leave the field, he will have a bird in his mouth. Even if he lays down with it, he will lay down and hold it in his mouth. And if you don't watch him, then that's when he'll go to work on it. But he will have a bird in his mouth the entire time during the pickup, which can last an hour with some of our spreads. Most spreads, you know, is going to be an hour pickup. He will have a bird in his mouth the entire time.
Right. But kind of what I was going to say too is, you know, with Duff, I mean, if he was just with us hunting, we probably wouldn't have that issue. But when you're hunting with them, I mean, you have 500 million things going on compared to like a normal hunt. Does that make sense? Where you're making sure everybody's safe in the blind. You're watching that bird, so they're right in the right angle for the shot. And you have so much going on in that hunt for how you guys hunt, where it makes it very tricky for, to be training. You can't be worrying about Duff because you got so much other stuff focused on where he gets a little bit of a leeway. He's going to go and grab that bird and put it in his mouth.
Yeah, you're not focusing 100%, but I want to make it clear that I am very anal about vehicles, UTVs, side-by-sides, four-wheelers, ATVs, whatever it is. I am very particular about when that hunt's over that those dogs don't wander.
Correct.
Sometimes you're on county roads, gravel roads, back roads, highways, whatever it is. It's your responsibility to keep an eye on that dog at all time. They're like your children. And they don't know better sometimes. A well-trained dog, he's not going to leave that circumference, but they could get a little whiff of the air and freaking go off on a cripple. There might be a blood splatter somewhere, outside of the decoys that the wind blows and hits them right and they take off for it. I'm always cognitive. In the morning, I don't let my dogs out of the truck in the kennels until it's the very last seconds before the trucks leave the field. I get them on the tailgate. I put their collars on. I lift them off the tailgate, put them on the ground, and then walk them to the place where I'm going to get ready to say kennel or place. kennel or place, not just place anymore. I got to work on that. I'm an average handler, Andrew. So you gotta be very, a lot of guys will get there and let their dog right out of the kennel in the dark. I think that's a no-no. I
Oh
truly
yeah,
do.
100%.
But that goes back to that mindset of like, they've been in that kennel too long. Let them out and run. Let them get some air. They're getting air in that kennel. They're fine. Your dog is fine. That's what we got to remember. Our dogs are fine in these kennels.
Right. That's, everybody says that we got to get that dog out. We got to let it burn off its energy. We got to let it, wear out. You should be doing that every single solitary day of that dog's life. You should be working with it, keeping it in shape, exercising it, and then training with it. And then that way, when you get out into that scenario, your dog's ready to go. You have to remember too, like maybe a dry cornfield is a little bit safer, but you got to picture a boat. There could be, the gator tail boat. I mean, the gator tail motor boat we have, and that's an aggressive prop where if a dog's running around, somebody just quick moves the boat. It could be a severe accident very fast. And that's why you're very smart on keeping that dog completely kenneled until you are ready to rock and okay, I can focus on my dog now. That's when you should be putting that dog into that blind or the boat, or whatever.
Well, yeah, whatever the last part of that is before you leave the ramp, before the trucks pull out of the field, and you have 100% recollection of where that dog is at all times. It's very smart. I mean, it goes all the way into the hunt, of making sure that where that dog is before anything goes down with calling the shot, guns up, safety's off. What happens when that dog is out retrieving birds is another really important aspect of the celebrations happening. The momentum is there. The adrenaline is there. You just saw a flock of mallards just back flapping over the decoys. 5 or 6 of them fall. Now it's work time for that dog. That's what that dog was born to do. We're celebrating. We need to be concentrating on letting that dog do what that dog was born to do, right? A lot of us don't pay attention to it. A lot of us take it for granted. A lot of us are in such a hurry because we think we only have so many flocks to work or so many goes that day. It's like, hurry up, get back in the blind, get back in the blind, get back, come on. And what about that dog? That dog was put on earth to do that part. You got to let him or her do their part each and every flock. It's not about the pile. Now, again, people are going to be like, yes, it is. And I get there's different stages of your hunting career and maturity. And we've talked about this until we're blue in the face. We've all been there where piles mean everything. Heavy straps mean everything. But man, 6 ducks coming back on awesome marks and a lab doing his thing and maybe 1 blind or 2 blinds. That's way better than having 3 flocks do it perfect as opposed to 2.
Right. That's just like you and I when we were hunting in Wisconsin and Illinois this year. Me and you both said it like at the same time where we were taking turns slash axle, and then somebody starts yelling birds, 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 birds. We just kind of look at them and we're just kind of ignored them and we just kept sending the dogs and we got back in the blind and you go, hey, we're going to let the dogs do their job. That's what they're here for. And I really appreciated that because it's like, especially like coming from a trainer, me, Brad, anybody, we spent all year round training that dog, putting our heart and soul into that dog. We're shooting a duck and hitting the ground is awesome. But for us, watching that dog is pretty, that's the magical part on our end. So that's what I really like about it is once you shoot your geese or ducks, whatever it is, let your dog go, retrieve them, get them all back. You have to have a count anyways. You got to know where your limit's at. And then get the dogs back in the blind and then proceed on your next flock. And never shoot with the dog out in front of you. And you're very protective on that. And I really appreciate that. You will let people know, like, do not guns up, guns unloaded until the dogs are back in the blind. I really respect that you do that a lot. You're pretty forceful on that one.
I won't put up with it.
Right.
I have gotten into anybody. I don't care if it's a celebrity. I don't care who you are. If you don't understand that ethical part of the game, that if somebody's out in front of the blind and there's dogs out working and one flies by over this part of the blind, a little bit behind it, and you raise up and shoot that gun and scare the living what out of me and not give that dog its due respect of working those birds that you just took down, there's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for seeing another duck fall just to see another duck fall like that. You just witnessed majesty. You just witnessed the way ducks are supposed to work or the way geese are supposed to work. And now you get a chance to witness a dog that of these calibers that is doing his or her job now that they've been put on earth to do. They've been trained to do. They've gone through boot camp to do. Their pride and glory right now. It's their time to shine. Spotlights on them. It's time for them to be on varsity right now. And you're going to do that? Like, there's no excuse. I don't care who you are. You don't want to do that. Even if there's a kid in the blind and you let that kid do that, that's teaching that kid bad things.
100%. You know, you got to teach that kid, because someday that kid's going to have a dog hunting next to it. If it takes over hunting and loves the passion of it, they're going to have a dog next to their side too. You know, it's just like, just like when I have a kid, I might let them shoot a doe or something at first, to get their first deer. But then after that, they're going to learn management and, kind of all that stuff. So you can carry on that tradition and let them know, like, hey, you just don't go shoot the first deer you see. It's kind of the same aspect.
Yeah. It's in a way, I do.
I was just saying, I was like, passion wise, and, you just don't go out there and you just kill all these birds. And, some people will go throw that bird out into the ditch. You know what I mean? It's, you got to respect the animal. You're out there. It's a privilege to go hunting, respect it. Respect the dogs, respect everything in that situation, if that kind of makes sense.
It does. It makes total sense. And it's weird that you're gonna be considered the a-hole again for saying something like, no, don't look at me and tell me chill out. It's just a shot. No, it's not. That's not safe. I'd literally say it before every hunt. When we are out in front of the blind working the dogs, if the dog is out there and I send him from the blind and you don't even see me out there, but the dog's out there and as a hunter that there's a dog retrieving a bird right now, there's no shooting. There's no pointing the gun. Your action should be open. Barrels up.
Enjoy watching the dog.
Yeah. Watch the show.
Yeah. We had it where this was 2 years ago, and we were out there duck hunting, and same thing. I tell everybody, like, hey, if my dog's out there, do not shoot. Where my dog, it was Kai. She was swimming way off to the left, and this guy shot a bird on the water off to the right. And I freaked out at him, and he's like, dude, your dog is way over there, and I was shooting way over there. I'm like, I don't care. You never know it could be a freak thing, but a ricochet off the water, you don't know what's going to happen out there. And that guy hasn't hunted with us ever since. I don't care if you're pointing that barrel in the complete opposite direction. Stuff can still go wrong. And I don't want to put up with it or deal with it. Or once the dogs are out in the field, they're out in the water, out in front running around, guns up, and just enjoy watching the dog do what they'd love to do.
I agree 100%. I couldn't utter the words better of let them do what they're doing, what they're born to do, and enjoy it. What I don't understand that mindset that you see a bird, you got to shoot at it.
Yeah, especially like 70 yards up. Just it's okay.
I don't even care if it's 20 up.
Right?
I don't care. The spinners are still going. There's a dog out there. There's movement. Those ducks are responding to something. It's not time to shoot into another flock. We're not gonna beat a dead horse. But again, there's a lot of like ethical things. When you like are in a bowling alley and you step up and you got to look to your right. What's that called? Gosh dang it. Etiquette. Etiquette. There's etiquette in everything we do. When you're a bowler, you always look to your right and you always say, all right, you're up, you're first, right? There's little things you do to respect the other people because there's always action and movement going on in your peripheral vision and all of that. So there's been these etiquette things that have been set up through the ages and the years for, sports like bowling or anything. There's etiquette in everything we do. And in hunting, there should be extra etiquette because you're dealing with lives. You're dealing with pointing a gun at a wild animal and taking the responsibility of taking that life to eat it. You have other human beings around. You have live dogs around that are pretty much part of these families. Etiquette plays a huge role in hunting. Respecting the resource, the compassion for the animals. And I want to hunt the birds and shoot the birds that I trick. It sounds weird, but there's different mindsets. It could be spring snows and maybe you don't even have a dog out there that day. And You left a bunch of them in the decoys because there's no wanting waste. There's no limits in the spring. You got a bunch of dead birds out there and three of them fly over. And you're like, all right, I got TSS in and they're 55 yards high, and you unleash them and you kill all three of them because it takes one BB to bring a snow down because they don't have a lot of pride, even though they are a very smart bird. They're not hard to take down. So there's different instances that I see this, but when there's dogs and there's human beings out in front of the blind, there's just no loaded guns. There's no shooting. It's as
Shouldn't
simple as that.
Yeah. Just like, if picture minus the dog, picture your little kids that ran out and to fix a decoy. You're not going to shoot a bird over that kid's head fixing a decoy for you. It's the same thing. Doesn't matter if it's an animal or a human. Um, put that gun up and just wait till the hunt's safe. Everybody's back in the blind. Now you're ready to rock again.
Another episode of Eukanuba Duck Dogs podcast with my man, Andrew Skaluzazizak. It's like a rap name. Pronounce it, please.
Sklozatchek.
Skalotchek, right? Skalotchek?
Close. Sklozatchek.
Skalotchek. Andrew Skalotchek. Wild Acre Kennels right here at the Foul Eye Podcast. Another episode, like I said, Duck Dogs by Eukanuba. We're talking Eukanuba right now. Premium Performance, the exercise. This nutrition's awesome. This plan is awesome. You have been feeding it. Now it's coming into late February, early March. The season's over. You still got 40 dogs in the kennel. How is your feeding transition from the wintertime, the temperatures, the work, the amount of calories being burned, everything that goes into a season? Are there changes made now, Andrew, with your feeding schedule, the amount of food you're feeding? Is it dependent per dog? How are you? Let's just keep duck dogs in the conversation right now. Slash and Kai and Dubs and the dogs that are there with you in Minnesota. Do things change going into this time of year where the temperatures start to warm up and the training sessions are a little bit different?
Oh, 100%. So all winter long, we feed. So Kai slash, not the kennel dogs, that's a different level. But Kai slash Dubs, all those, my house dogs, my personal dogs, we actually feed them 26-16 in the off season. So that's not as high calorie intake food because they're not burning as much energy. This year was a little bit different because we have no snow. It was actually a very enjoyable winter. But now coming, here when it warms up here and they're going to be swimming every day and training back into the training scenario, then we'll go back to the 30-20. So then they'll be getting fed probably 4 cups a day of that 30-20.
4 cups a day each?
Correct. Yep. We do 2 cups AM, 2 cups PM, like Kai, and Jaeger, they'll get 3 cups because they're a little bit, different. They don't need that much food. Where Dubs and Slash, they run like 30 miles an hour all day long and when we're out training. So we got to keep the weight on them.
So when you say cups, Eukanuba makes kind of like what would be in reference of a red Solo cup, but it's got the famous pink color on it.
Yeah, we have. That's what I use every day.
So that's what you're calling a cup?
Yep. So yeah, it's a 2-cup cup.
Okay, so it's a 2-cup cup, meaning that when you take a food measuring cup,
yeah, if you feel that, yep,
2 of those are going to fit into the pink cup. So you're saying that you feed 2 of those pink cups a day?
Correct. Yeah, well, we don't actually. We have Eukanuba has one that's actually measured out, so it's 1 cup, 2 cup, and it's all in one cup, and that's what we use.
So you feed one of those cups in the morning and one of them in the afternoon
with Dubs and Slash, and then Kai and Jaeger will get a cup and a half and a cup and a half.
Why do you feed 2 times a day where a lot of trainers feed once a day?
Okay, so our kennel dogs are all fed once a day. But my own personal dogs, they're not on the schedule of the training dogs, so they're not, going for a big run right away in the morning. You know what I mean? They get rest after they feed. So when it comes time to feeding a dog, you cannot feed them and then instantly take them out running. They have to have at least an hour and a half. My rule is 2 hours, but at least an hour and a half break from feeding, relax, and then they can go work. Where it'd just be like you go eat a T-bone steak and go for a mile run, you're going to die. It's the same thing with the dogs is you gotta, once you feed an animal, they need to have a break before you go and run them. With training, we feed them once a day because with training, you gotta be efficient. So we're getting those dogs up, loaded and airing, and we're right into training where we don't have time to sit there and, let them eat and wait that hour and a half. A lot of the dogs the dogs that couldn't get loaded up, but we don't want to be feeding them, twice one day and then once the next day, you know what I mean? you got to get them on a system so their bodies can adjust to it as well. That kind of makes sense. But so the kennel dogs we feed once a day. My own personal dogs we feed twice a day.
But your personal dogs aren't getting the exercise per day that your kennel dogs are. They're not getting trained on the same schedule.
Not really. No. So like, because obviously we got to do training dogs first, and then that, usually in the afternoon we'll get our personal dogs out and then start working them. But you got to remember too, like Slash and Kai and everything, they're pretty much trained. So we just get them out, go run them on, a couple of blinds or go, do whatever. Or that's just kind of polish work. Where the training dogs, you're starting from scratch. So you gotta, it's just a whole different kind of system. They get
How is
trained every
Mar-
day. They get trained
how's
every
Oh,
day.
sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
No, I was just saying that they get trained every day. It's just, with the kennel dogs, they're first, and then our dogs are, have to go out in the afternoon or whatever.
When you have multiple dogs, how many is it okay to have around feeding them at one time? I have always been told all of them are fed separately to where they can't get to each other's food bowl. There's no fights that can occur. Do you believe in this, or can you line up all your food bowls and they all can read their name on it? They all go to the correct bowl, and bam, it's an easy deal. Or do you separate them all?
Kennel dogs are all separated. But our personal dog slash Dubs Jagger, you could line them all up, and they eat side by side every day.
Side by side. Okay, let's transition into
But you got
uh,
to know your dog too. Where some dogs are a little bit more aggressive, or they're more, they love every dog, but they're some males they don't like. So I mean, you got to know your dog before you go and do that. Some dogs that live in the same household lay together, sleep together, do everything together, but you cannot feed them together. Where our dogs, they're all born and raised kind of together, so they just kind of got used to it, and I feel comfortable feeding my dogs together. But if you got to just know your dog. If they're not gonna, if you know that they're gonna attack another dog over feeding time, well, then obviously don't put that dog in that situation.
I don't know if I agree with that last statement, and here's why. I've seen the calmest of dogs that I've never seen overreact or get into anybody else's business or get frustrated and growl or strike or anything when it comes to when it comes to food. It all changes.
Right. And that's why I said you got to know your dog. Like I know that my own personal dogs here, they we feed them together every day, and that's never an issue. Where I can take, if you brought my same dogs and you just put Duff in with them, there'd probably be a fight. Does that kind of make sense? But I know that because it's a different dog, they're not used to them, where I wouldn't feed them together.
um, I'm looking at a note right here, and I wanted to make sure that I had this right. I want to talk about your lovely significant other, Ray Lynn. Is the married life still? We talked about this a little bit last time. Working together every day in a kennel. Do these loving dogs? Is it easy for a couple to do this? I understand marriage, and I understand there's ups and downs. I get all that, but is being a trainer an easy lifestyle, and is it a bountiful and a pleasurable and a blessed lifestyle for a married couple? Are you glad that are a married couple in this game of training 365?
Yeah, it is tough. Is it an easy job? No. It's a lot of people just think you're out there running these dogs every day and you're just playing with dogs. That's not even close to that. So yeah, it does take a strain on I wouldn't say a strain on your marriage. We actually don't have really any issues with it, but if you want to become a trainer, you have to have the mindset. This is dog owning a dog training business. It's like owning a dairy farm. It's 7 days a week, sun up to sun. There is no off days, if that makes sense. You can maybe take a day off of training, but you cannot just leave the dogs in the kennel all day long and be like, oh, we'll feed them and give them water and everything tomorrow. You can't do that. You got to feed them every day. You got to give them water every day. You got to clean their kennel, let them out. You got to exercise them every single solitary day. It doesn't matter if it's Christmas, if it's holidays. Doesn't matter. You got to be here, and that's kind of our biggest challenge because for people that don't know, my wife is from Michigan. So when it comes time to holidays, it is very, I guess that's where the tension gets in our household because Raylan wants to go home to see her family. We know we have all these dogs to carry. Now we have employees and everything to help out, but now our employees are missing their Christmas. So we have like kind of a schedule. Everybody takes a day. So there's a lot of times where Raylan will fly out to Michigan. I will stay back, do my shifts here, and then I drive out to Michigan and we come home together and then the employees take over for those times when we're gone. But you can't just leave on a Friday, say, hey, we're going up north for the weekend. I'm going to the lake and just leave on Friday and come back on Monday and think there's nothing going on. It's a seven day a week job. Doesn't matter if it's Christmas, holidays, it's 7 days a week.
What about the tedious part of it and the monogamous, the how everything is kind of the same every day almost? Like you up in the morning, you feed, you air, you clean, you got a bottle feed the puppies, then load them up, take them out. Like there's a lot of freedom to it. You're on a side by side. Like you've talked about 4 o'clock sunset ride with your lady with a bush latte, with the dogs airing out and running beside you. There's good parts of it. Don't get me wrong, but does it become like too monotonous, like day to day? You're like, oh gosh, it's the same thing over and over. Do the dogs get old to you? Do you get worn out, or are you vibrant every day and you're like, and you're driven every day to see these dogs reach the goals that you've intended for them and become the champions in the field that they are?
So yeah, I mean, it's not just sunshine and glory every day, you know. So like the first couple of weeks the dogs are here. I'm talking intermediate dogs, not obedience dogs. It's obedience in hunting, but you're doing the retrieve to hand or force fetch. Where the first few weeks, you're kind of just doing that, where that's just kind of a grind, kind of repetitive. So it's kind of, yes, it does kind of get a little bit boring. But now, once you get that dog, retrieving the hand or force fetch, whatever you want to call it, and now you're getting to that point where you're teaching that dog that went from flinging that bird in the air to running the opposite way with the bird in its mouth to now you're getting there where they're starting to come back, they're starting to deliver to hand, they're being steady, they're being quiet. Now that's where it becomes very fun because every dog is different. Every dog has a different challenge. Now you have to do frozen birds, live clipping birds. Now you have to get that bird to fly away from the dog. You shoot it, have the dog go pick it up and bring it back. Then you got to get to multiple retrieves in the water, on land, honoring another dog. So once you get to that point, then yes, it's a lot of fun and we enjoy every day of it. Unless you live in Minnesota and you get 4 feet of snow, then it becomes then it's a little tricky because the side by sides are getting stuck in dog trailers. But like this winter was absolutely, we had a lot of fun. But those first few weeks, it's just kind of a grind and it's boring and it's hard on us. It's hard on the dogs because they went from a life where there was no rules to now they're at a kennel where there's rules every day. They got to listen, they got to sit, they got to lie down, they got to come when called, they got to pick an object up when we ask them to pick it up. So it becomes kind of a grind. But then once you start giving them that reward, which is the bird or the dummy, now you're starting to see that dog climb the ladder and be like, all right, this is why we're doing all this. And they're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that's where it becomes a lot of fun as a trainer.
I love it. Um, Ray Lynn sent a message to Anna the other day. Anna's just knocked it out of the park with the Women of Wing Shooting webinar and everything she's building with that brand. Ray Lynn's becoming involved in it. Sent her a really sweet message. It's okay for girls to be in this game, huh? The shotgunning, the duck hunting, the duck cooking, the duck dog training, the duck eating, the everything that goes into it. It's okay for girls to get involved, isn't it, Andrew?
I think so. I love having, Raylan's my best friend. So having her in the blind is, an honor to me. She's out there every day working with us. She loves to watch the dogs do as much as I do. Actually, Raylan actually doesn't even care about the shooting part of it. She likes to shoot pictures, actually. She takes a lot of pride in that. She does hunt, she does shoot, but she'll shoot a couple birds and then she grabs the camera and starts, I say working, but she says it's fun.
Photographers are different, man.
Yep. But I'm 100% for it. You know why? What's the difference between a male or female? I don't, in the hunting world, it's get them out there because, like you're going to take you're going to take your daughter out and get her into the hunting just like your dad did with you. You know what I mean? So I think it's a great thing, me personally.
I agree 100%. I have a daughter. I love being in the blind with her. She doesn't obsess over it like I do, and I didn't even obsess over it when I was her age. But if she comes around and falls in love with it, then we've introduced her to it. She's seen it done the right way. She's seen the dog. She's been around well-trained dogs her whole life. Um, and if she comes back and says, "Dad, I want to be duck hunting more in the field more, being around the dogs more," then all the power to it. But I'm never going to force it on them,
Right.
because the duck hunting life, dog training life is, you can be a weekend warrior, don't get me wrong, but when it's in your blood, you're obsessed with it. And I've let it overtake my life in many instances. And you don't have to have that type of personality. You don't have to have that type of connection to it. You can do it once or twice a season, and that's okay. But if I'm not hunting every day and doing it, then I feel FOMO bad. Like I feel sad, and like I'm already like weirded out that the season's over. I'm not a real big snow goose chaser, but I'm not a real big turkey chaser. I enjoy it, but there's just nothing like duck camp with your dogs. That anticipation of loading up and being ready. I don't know, man. I love it, Andrew. I love that part of it. We got to plan another trip this year. We'll be back in Wisconsin this fall, maybe
Mhm.
upstate New York. I got to get you down to Georgia to get Axel down, or I mean, to get Slash down there so we can run him in Georgia for a little bit. We
Yeah,
got
we
to
got
hook
some.
up. I need some more bologna. I
Yeah.
are you coming back out this? Are you coming back out this spring so we can lay out some dog tips?
Yeah, we want to. Well, Ray and I were just talking about that. We're trying to figure out. We're going to text you on what days work so we can get it in our schedule because we got some puppies coming now. We got a dog due in March, so that's the only tricky part with us is puppies. Is it's hard for us to leave, but no,
So
definitely want to come out. And I know my wife. She talks to Anna all the time, but she really wants to meet her. She's all about this wing shooting or whatever they're doing. It's pretty cool the excitement that I see from her. So.
yeah, we gotta get them together. But if you got puppies coming in March, when's a good time to do it?
So that
Before
we
the
can
puppies?
no, we can still leave when we have puppies. They just have to be a certain age point. We want them kind of weaned off the mom. So like we usually come out to you in April, I believe. End of April, I think was the last time.
Yeah, end of April, beginning of May. I'll look
Yeah.
at late
So,
April.
so yeah, those puppies are old enough now for us to, where our employees can take care of it. But once they're the first 3 weeks that they're born, we personally, this is how we make our living as well too. So we gotta be here to make sure that a mom doesn't lay on them or something like that. So we just get a little testy on that. But yeah, no, mid-April or it might be something like last year too, where I came out and then Raylan flew in. We might have to do something like that again too, but definitely figure it out.
Okay, I'll look for some dates. Let you and her know. Look at that text I just sent you and tell me yes or no. Would you wear those? Not in the field. Not obviously. This is going to be more of a dress sock. But would you dig those as a duck hunter?
I would wear those if I'm going to a wedding or something like that. Absolutely.
Aren't those slick?
It's different. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
We got those coming with the foul life soon.
Yeah, look at what this little girl, a customer of ours, they made us these for coasters.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, those are beautiful.
Yeah, send me your logo and we can make you some. She cuts them out of a tree and then she engraves them.
Does she treat them to where the moisture from the bottom of your
Yeah.
glass or anything's not going to affect it?
Yep. Yeah, I got my Pepsi can on one right now. Yeah, they're all treated, everything.
Ooh, I
But yeah,
like those.
yeah, she's a customer of ours, little kid. She picks it up as a little hobby. So send me your logo and I'll get you 15 or so made up.
All right. Well, I want to pay for them if it's her livelihood.
Yeah, she's a young girl. I'll pay for it. We paid for these ones, but they're very cheap. So I just need your logo so I can get them printed up. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
I'm
no, definitely need to get the girls to meet up and yeah, hopefully they can or at least get them on a hunt this fall for sure.
I really want to do it.
Because yeah, well, I'll never turn down an opportunity to come eat Joel's cooking in Wisconsin.
He throws down, doesn't he?
Oh man. I remember that one morning we were going to Illinois to hunt and we're kind of rushing because it's kind of a long drive and Joel's in the kitchen just whipping up what were they goose breakfast burritos or something.
Oh yeah,
He just
everything's goose.
made it in like 30 seconds and it was probably the best little snack wrap whatever you want to call it bologna snack wrap that I've ever had. And it took him like, I was right there with him. It took like 30 seconds to make all those for everybody.
Yeah, you know
So
Joel doesn't eat anything but wild game. Every
I do
meal,
that.
every
Yep.
day, him and his family only eat wild game.
That's insane. That's awesome.
I'm not saying there's not the occasional restaurant stop or the diner
All
stop,
right.
but when he's home, they eat wild game every meal.
Huh.
He's a hunting fanatic, dude. I talked to him yesterday on a conference call. I go, dude, what's all that noise? Somebody put me on mute. I can hear a bunch of noise. It was snow goose calling. It was all the e-callers. I go, you're in the blind taking a conference call. And he works in politics. I'm like, isn't the assembly still in? He's like, no, I just got out. Like, he loves to freaking hunt. I love it. And he
Oh,
started late in life. He started pretty late in life.
right. In his trophy room or wherever that little hidden room is, that's insane.
A little game room.
Just and the guy will give you the shirt off his back, just a down to earth guy. Just amazing person over there in Wisconsin. He's really enjoy going to see him every year.
Great guy, great family. His wife Rebecca, his daughters, his friends, his network that he's got around that area. What a cool part of Wisconsin.
Right.
What it's just beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, and then it's not that far where you can just if the birds aren't in Wisconsin, you can sneak over to Illinois and you have a whole different town or city to hunt. State.
Completely different. I
Yeah.
love it around there. We had a blast. Man, we did so much in Wisconsin. I don't think you were there when we went to Madison.
No,
You were gone
not
already.
when you went to the cheese factory. You went to the cheese factory. I came the next day.
Yeah, so you were there early because that was the first day. And we did we went to Madison, went to Wando's bar, which was awesome, went to the Wisconsin Badgers football game against Nebraska, sat on the
That
50-yard line.
that's the day I left. I went bowling with you.
Oh, that was a cool fish fry. That
That
was a
was
cool place.
crazy. Yeah, we went bowling that time. That was fun.
All right, my man. Well, I
Make-
appreciate it.
Making
Eukanuba's
memories and
duck.
yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for having us again.
Yeah, man. We'll do another one. Eukanuba's Duck Dog podcast right here at the Foul Life. Andrew Skazizizizrak. Wild Acre Kennels. Nobody can pronounce it, bro.
Try being a youngster learning to say that last name, let alone spell it. I think it took me till the eighth grade to figure that out.
I'll spell it for people on here, and then they can see what I'm up against, or they can just
Right.
look at the description of this podcast. SKLUZACEK. SKLUZACEK. Skaluzazizizak. How do you pronounce it?
Sklozacek.
No, you don't. I don't think that's right. Not believing you.
Well,
He's confusing us.
that's how my dad says it. So Czech name, 100%. I'm actually 100% Czechoslovakian. My mom was a Vlasak, so that's
My
Czech.
dad was Czech. My dad was Czech. My mom's Italian. I wish I had her last name. I used to tell my dad that all the time. Belding. Beldingo. Can't just put a vowel at the end of it. Belding's a funny name. That's Andrew, my man. Wild Acre Kennels right here at Eukanuba's Duck Dogs podcast at the Foul Life. Thank you for the downloads, the subscriptions. Thank you to all of our partners. And thank you to Eukanuba for making our dogs happy, keeping them fit, keeping them fired up. I don't know if there's another animal on earth, maybe a lion. I don't even know if a lion can wake up that fast and be ready to go to work. Dog can be in a deep sleep and be ready to pound the ice, break the ice, swim the cold water, get a mallard and bring it back and be as happy as they were when they were sleeping. Take care of those dogs. Give them some extra love. Don't be biased towards one like we talked about on today's episode. Keep it real out there. I'm sorry that it's not duck season right now. Do you have the duck depression blues? My buddy Walt Gabbard back in the day with Zinc Calls wrote a song about that. I love this duck hunting life. I love this duck dog life. And I appreciate our partners. We couldn't do this without them. I appreciate our partnership with Wild Acre Kennels and what they've done with Duff and what they've done with Slash. They have turned them into machines. Andrew and his wonderful, lovely wife, Raylyn. I'll see him out here in Nevada soon to film some dog tips that you will see on the upcoming season. Can you believe it? Season 16 of Benelli's The Foul Life will air this late June, early July, all through December 2024, exclusively on the Outdoor channel. It's going to be, again, season 16 of Benelli's The Foul Life. You'll see Andrew on there hunting with us in Wisconsin with our buddy Joel. You'll see Slash on there. You'll see Axel on there. You'll see Duff on there. You're going to see a lot of great dogs. We love this lifestyle. We are blessed to live it. We give all of the thanks to the man upstairs. We know that we couldn't do it without him. I'm Chad Belding for my good buddy Andrew at Wild Acre Kennels. Thank you again for joining us on another episode of Eukanuba Duck Dogs podcast right here at The Foul Life. Talk to y'all soon. See ya.